Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Can I ask everyone to please take their seats, stop the selfies, put your mobile phones away, and you might learn something. Okay, anyway. So please, no distractions. Very important session here. I've been promised that the room will fill up in about 15 minutes, and there'll be like 6,000 people here. So if you've got a seat, you're very lucky. Don't leave. Okay. My name is Chandra Nair, and for all my sins, I'll be your moderator. So I've been given this thing. So if any of you, particularly speakers here, and if you're asking questions, if you see this, it's time to stop. I'm very pleased to have the opportunity to moderate this session on advances in national and local disaster risk reduction strategies towards meeting the first of the Sendai Framework targets. You're all very familiar with that, and you're all very familiar with the importance of meeting that first target. So we hope to have a very good 90-minute session, which I'll try my best to moderate fairly and hopefully with engagement from the audience as well. Just a quick word, my name is Chandra Nair. I live in Hong Kong, and some of you might be saying, well, there's no disasters there. Well, actually there are, and the point I'm trying to make is whether you're rich or poor, all of us today are exposed to different types of risks. And about 7 months ago, or 8 months ago, Hong Kong was hit by the strongest typhoon in its history. Over 100,000 trees were uprooted, and wind speeds of over 200 kilometers per hour were felt. And what was very interesting was, fortunately, because Hong Kong is a society with solid infrastructure, there were no fatalities, etc. But what was interesting was the amount of potential damage that could have been had, and that even tall buildings, 30 floors high, were essentially shaking. So you can see that the intensity, in this instance, of storms, particularly with climate change, is real. And even rich societies have to adapt and transform in significant ways. So what I hope we can achieve in this next 90 minutes is have a rich discourse that would essentially alert people to what others are doing, and we have a distinguished panel and a keynote speaker. But I would urge everyone to essentially try and be very specific about their remarks. Please stay away from generic statements, also known as UN language too much. Try and break it down to earth. Tell us what has been done, what the barriers are, what the changes are that you see. So to start the ball rolling, I'm going to ask our keynote speaker to come and pass a few remarks. I'm very, very pleased that we have Her Excellency, Ms. Puan Maharani from Indonesia, who's the coordinating minister for Human Development and Cultural Affairs in Indonesia, and she's been in that position since 2014. She's a member of the People's Representative Council since 2009, and has majored in communication science at the University of Indonesia. With that short introduction, can I invite Ibu Maharani to say a few words? Thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished delegates and participants, good afternoon. Before I begin, on behalf of the people of Indonesia, let me convey our gratitude for the sympathies and support you and the international community have given us in the wake of the 2018 earthquakes and tsunami that struck Lombok, Palu, and Sunda Strait. Your invaluable support showed the effective international cooperation at work. I would also like to acknowledge the distinguished panelists in this session. Ladies and gentlemen, no country is immune to the natural disaster, including Indonesia. Situated on the Ring of Fire, Indonesia, which have more than 17,000 islands, faces risk of earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, tsunamis, typhoon, and other disasters. With such conditions, there are lessons that we all have learned at national level. Among others are the importance of transforming our fundamental approach in viewing and dealing with disaster, the necessity to shift our focus to preventing and reducing disaster risks, and the pertinence to engage all elements of society in that effort. At regional level, we have been investing more cooperation in disaster management effort. In Southeast Asia, for example, in 2011, 10 Asean countries established the Asian Coordinating Center for Humanitarian Assistance on Disaster Management, or the AHA Center, and partnered with international organizations, private sector, and civil society organizations. Ladies and gentlemen, 4 years ago in Sendai, the world leaders gathered to adopt a framework for disaster risk management which contains many innovations to ensure continuity with previous works by state and stakeholders. The framework has provided further guidelines for us humanitarian actors to strengthen and advance the RR strategies. It is now timely for us to see where we are with our achievement on the 4 action priorities included in Sendai Framework for Disaster Risk Reduction at the national and local levels. First, increasing the awareness and understanding of disaster risk. Second, strengthening disaster risk governance. Third, investing in resilience. And last, enhancing preparedness against disaster. Distinguished delegates, these priorities for action should be implemented in a holistic manner. For Indonesia, we have implemented these priorities into action mainly through the integration of disaster risk reduction into national and local development plans. Ladies and gentlemen, in this context, the highest political commitment has been in place, and we believe that strong commitment is key in building of community that is resilient against disaster. In February 2019, President Joko Widodo stressed the importance of disaster risk reduction, or DRR, and announced 6 priorities for DRR. To empower local authorities and communities in taking the lead for the disaster risk reduction process, to be more able to mitigate, to be more resilient in dealing with natural disaster, to include, engage, involve, and empower local stakeholders, especially women, children, the poor, and the person with disabilities. Distinguished delegates, allow me to once again underline that cooperation among state and stakeholders at the global level play a crucial part in disaster risk reduction. We only have less than 1 year to achieve target E of the Sendai Framework. The need to enhance cooperation in the RR is even more pressing today than ever. The challenges ahead will never be easy. Therefore, Indonesia is ready to play a leading role in supporting other countries to advance their DRR strategies. Among other, through sharing of best practice and experience, particularly by empowering local community, conducting joint research and study, and developing new technology and innovation. Ladies and gentlemen, let us continue to enhance and strengthen this collaboration and common effort. I wish you a productive discussion and looking forward for your sharing. I thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency, for those words. Coming myself from Southeast Asia, I'm very aware of the leadership role played particularly by the President, mainly driven, of course, by the unfortunate reality that Indonesia is so often affected by disasters. But the leadership of President Jokowi, I think, is there for everyone to see. So thank you so much, and we look forward to more contributions from the Indonesian side. So thank you very much. So that leaves me now to essentially open the panel discussion. What I'll do is introduce our panel members. I hope they will forgive me if I introduce them in a couple of lines. They all have very distinguished CVs, but you can go online and check them out. So let me first introduce to my left Ms. Asako Okai, who began at the UNDP, Assistant Administrator and Director for the Crisis Bureau just in August 2020, August last year. She assures me she's now an expert. No, I'm just kidding. In this role, she leads the UNDP's corporate crisis-related work and drives UNDP's vision and priorities for crisis prevention, response, and recovery. Please welcome Ms. Okai-san.
Thank you, Chandran, and then the distinguished delegate. It is great pleasure for me to participate in this important panel. As we have heard this afternoon at the opening, Target E is really the one that which has got to set the goals, comes earlier next year to formulate them amongst all the member states. So aligning DRR strategies with Sendai Framework is imperative, and then the one which requires the sense of urgency. And this is going to be a key milestone for achieving rest of the Sendai Framework and implementation of the whole framework till 2030. So I would like to take this opportunity to congratulate 56 countries reported have already made the DRR strategies at national level and local level. I mean, this is the testimony of their political will, as well as their will to implement it, hopefully matched with the adequate resources. And then also to those who have not yet made the strategies, don't worry, international support is there, good practices and lessons learned, so that today through the panel, I hope that you get the sense of the things that can be done from the experiences that UNDP had experienced along with the other partners in the UN system, as well as the bilateral donors. During even the Hyogo framework time, UNDP supported 77 countries to develop the DRR strategies. And then since Sendai Frameworks, the adoption of Sendai Framework, we have supported over 40 countries on that one. And then our observation on our experience is that even at the Hyogo decade, many DRR strategies were only partially implemented. And then we don't want this to happen during the Sendai framework. So I would frame some of the lessons that we've learned in two sets of the issues, so to speak. Firstly, I would emphasize that we need to make the strategy that works. So some advices from the implementation side. And then the second set relates to the content and the coverage of the strategy. As we heard at the opening and the launch of the global assessment reports, the risks that we face nowadays is so complex and multifaceted, pluralistic. So to incorporate that into the coverage of their strategy, that requires a lot of the thinking and support. So I would first start with the how we can make a strategy that works. Oftentimes we say that the DRR strategy should be fully owned by the whole of the government and stakeholders. Yes, so in order to do that, what can we do and what we have observed so far? Firstly, there are so many temptations to shortcut the consultations, actually. To have the whole of the government approach across the many sectors, yes. But to have the government-wide consultation, as well as to consulting with the other stakeholders, civil society or the private sector, academia. It's sometimes a challenge for many of the countries. So we really feel that we need to make this strategy inclusive and participatory. And there are many examples that we have made this happen while learning that one size doesn't fit all. Some of the processes that we learn in one country may not apply to the others. So these are accumulated among us. So please, if you require some of the guidance on how we can, how you can extend the consultations to make really the nationally owned, there are some examples, and I can touch upon that later on. And the second advice is that the national strategies should be grounded at the local level. Or this is really true that if you don't reflect the local reality, national strategy will only stay as a paper and not implementable. I would give the example of the Mozambique, although it's been hit by such unprecedented tragedy and catastrophe at the recent cyclone Idai and Kenneth, but they had achieved so much by localizing their strategies. During 2001 and 2010, they managed to cut down 45% of the affected people through the disasters. So nature's beat us, the humans, but they are the effort that can be reflected, and then to have the localized the strategy is very important. And the third point is that the strategy need to be supported by effective implementing structure. Strategy stays as a paper if you don't have that. And then that would include institution that has a clear mandate and capacity, and then also legislature that set DRR mandate and standard. At UNDP support the disaster and climate risk governance as a comprehensive package, and then try to address the wider set of the challenges. So this strategy needed to be looked at from the implemented side. And then the second set of the advice that we would like to touch upon is on the coverage of the risks. Global Assessment Report 2019, it's according to MAMI, SRSG and DRR, said that it's a 21st century view of multifaceted risks. And we are sometimes overwhelmed with all the risks that we need to take into account. Somalia, for instance, community faces a protracted crisis resulting from converging forces such as climate change, drought, conflict, displacement. So there will be a need for the integrated assessment that inform the planning process to that. And then also there are so many future generation of the new risks that we need to hopefully reduce while tackling the existing risks. So for that purposes, the DRR strategies may not be a cure for all, but it will be a key element of the functioning risk governance system as priority 2 of the Sendai Framework set out. So it's the better planning and then to have the good implementing structure and then to have as a wider view of the coverage. That will be the key to the success of the targetee. I will stop here, but I would touch upon what sort of the international solidarity cooperation partnership we can to help support the member state to arrive at the very good strategy. Thank you, Chandran.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Okai-san, and I have a lot of questions, but we'll keep moving on, and I think you were very kind to suggest that you would be very pleased to expand on some examples of essentially how to apply strategies. But I think everyone will know, and I think you made that point, that strategy is all about execution. Otherwise, it remains a piece of paper. I also thought your remark about stakeholder engagement can be so broad that one can get stuck in that, and I'd be very happy to hear what you think about how one might get stakeholder engagement without having to engage every single person in the entire community, etc. So those are very good points. What we'll do now, ladies and gentlemen, is I will introduce all the 4 members of the panel. Then I'll invite them to make some remarks for about 5 minutes, and I hope my panel members, but if they extend to 6, it's okay. And then what we will do is invite you to essentially ask some questions, etc. So that's how hopefully we can use the remaining hour that we have. So in that brilliant, bright yellow jacket we have Ms. Anna Giacometti. Have I said it correctly? Yeah? Giacometti. She's currently the mayor of a small place up in the mountains near the Italian border called Bregaglia. Okay, so I put a little sort of Asian Italian in there. And she's held that position since 2010. I will not go through all her achievements apart from saying that she was responsible for crisis response and management after the unfortunate rock slides that happened in August 2017. And we had a little chat about that yesterday. So, so that's Anna, and I'm going to then introduce the others, but welcome. Next to her, we have Mr. Akihiro Nakamura, who's the Vice Minister for Policy Coordination and Cabinet Office from the government of Japan, and he assumed his current position in July of last year. He's mainly responsible for macroeconomic planning, policy revitalization, and disaster management. Here again, we have a person from a country that we all know is exposed to a lot of natural disasters, but copes admirably, not both in its ability to have the infrastructure, but in essentially the ability of its people to respond. So we look forward to Mr. Nakamura's comments as well. And then on the left of him, we have Ronald Jackson, who is assumed the position of Executive Director Sidima in April 2013. And prior to his appointment, Mr. Jackson served in the capacity of Director General of the Office of Disaster Preparedness and Emergency Management in Jamaica, a position he's held since August 2006. Welcome. And finally, I'm very pleased that we have also with us on the panel Ms. Fatimatu Abdul Malik, who is the former mayor of, and again, I'm sure I'll not pronounce this correctly, Tefrak Zaina for 17 years. And now is the president of the region of, again, I'm going to try and pronounce this correctly, Nouakchott. Is that correct? It's okay? And very importantly, named by the UN as a champion for resilient cities in May 2013 in Geneva, and as a champion mayor for the Inclusive Growth in Cities campaign. So welcome. Thank you very much. Now, I understand that the Italian translation is gone walkabout, so we're going to wait till it gets fixed. I'm not sure if it's an Italian problem, but we have a slight. So, Mr. Nakamura-san, can I invite you, please, to make your remarks, then I'll come to you. Okay? Thank you. Yes.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Chair. And it is my pleasure to speak at this high-level dialogue regarding DRR strategies. It's my honor. And I think that national and local DRR strategies are the fundamental first step to implement 4 priority actions in Sendai Framework. So this dialogue is a very important opportunity to share progress on DRR strategies in order to achieve Target E by 2020. So first of all, I just like to explain about the very overview of DRR strategies in Japan. In Japan, national level DRR strategies was formulated in 1963 based on the Basic Act on Disaster Management. And it describes the framework and actions for preparations, emergency response, recovery, and reconstructions. And the strategy was decided at a National Council on Disaster Management, which is chaired by the Prime Minister. So it means that all ministries are involved in the drafting process as well as in its implementation process. So based on these national strategies, all 47 prefectures and over 1,700 local governments are required to develop their own strategies. I'm honored to inform you that all those local governments have already developed their own strategies. That is one point. So in my first round speech, I would like to share Japan's experience of DRR strategies, focusing on 2 functions. First, how DRR strategies contribute to mainstreaming DRR in other policy areas. And the second one is how the DRR strategy is addressing current challenges. So I'll start from the first one. And first of all, I'd like to stress that the national DRR strategies promotes mainstreaming of DRR in other policy fields. For example, DRR strategies is stipulated in the basic policy framework, economic and fiscal management as an important policy for strong economic growth. Actually, the key message in the DRR strategies is that the capacity for DRR should be enhanced and various measures should be developed in order to reduce risk and damages. And this concept is completely reflected in the economic and fiscal strategies. So there are strategies. So there is a tight link between DRR strategies and economic policy in Japan. And another example is that the major long-term national plans, for example, such as infrastructure development plan or national land use plan and regional development plans for metropolitan areas, these various long-term national plans should be designed to be consistent with national DRR strategies based on the articles in the Basic Act on Disaster Management. This is a very important function of DRR strategies, I think, because As you may know, in Japan, large-scale disasters such as Tokyo inland earthquake of magnitude 7 class and Nankai Trough earthquake, which may cause tsunami of 34 meters height, are expected within the next 30 years with a possibility of 70 or 80%. So relevant plans and policies should be designed to prepare for such mega disasters, and the DRR strategies play a very, very key role for bring them together. Secondly, I'd like to share how the DRR strategies approaches current challenges of disasters. The national DRR strategies is reviewed and revised every year, taking account of lessons from past disasters and the changes in social and economic circumstances such as declining and aging populations. Actually, looking back on the year 2018, last year, Japan suffered from a very continuous natural disasters, in particular, the very heavy rain in July, and typhoons, and the earthquakes. The total number of deaths was more than 300 persons. So the government is reviewing the DRR strategies based on the experience and lessons from these disasters. So I'd like to focus on one of the important issues that are on the table for revision. It is regarding the resilient infrastructures. As I said, we had a very big disaster in last year, but this disaster in 2018 caused not only human losses, but also physical damages. In particular, critical infrastructures were seriously damaged. For example, after earthquake occurred in September in Hokkaido, which is a northern area in Japan, there was a blackout for 3 million houses and buildings for maximum 5 days. This blackout caused serious problems on people's lives and economy all over the country. For example, small-scale hospitals were not able to continue their normal medical services due to the blackout, and also milk factories had to stop the operations, which caused short supply of milk all over Japan. So we learned that it is extremely important to prepare for the disaster in advance so that critical infrastructure could maintain the function when disaster happens. So based on these lessons, the national government made a comprehensive investigation on all major critical infrastructures. And then we formulated 3-year emergency programs in December 2018. This program identified 20 key policy areas which have high priorities. Then, based on this plan, approximately 63 billion US dollars will be allocated by fiscal year 2020 to implement investment in those 20 key policy areas by both public and private sectors. And these 20 key policy areas include, for example, the policy for housing and schools, medical care, electricity, supply chain, transport network, and information system. So I'd like to add that this emergency program for resilient infrastructure is integrated in the DRR strategy, and it is consistent with the priority 3 in the Sendai Framework, which is investing in disaster risk reduction for resilience. Well, so I'd like to conclude my remarks by emphasizing that the importance of national and local DRR strategies. I hope that Japan's experience on implementing the Sendai Framework could be useful for other countries which are in the process of preparing DRR strategies and in the process of reviewing the existing strategies. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mika Nakamura-san. The thing that stood out for me, which I hope also stood out for most of you, is that 1,700 local governments have already put their regional plans together. And I know some people might say, oh my God, that's only the Japanese who can do that. But let's all try and be Japanese then. That might help. And it's not a question of just money. I think having spent a fair amount of time in Japan, it's an attitude, it's a mindset, and an ability to organize. And I think this really is all about being able to organize. And finally, I think the point you made that the DRR is not some standalone, but is essentially integrated into essentially economic and fiscal policies. I mean, that's critical. And it's not a rich country thing, no matter what country. And then I think your reference to resilient infrastructure, we'd like to hear more about that, but let's keep going on. So next I'd like to invite Mr. Ronald Jackson to take his and share his thoughts with us. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chairman, Excellencies, colleague panelists. I think our story really set against the backdrop of the small size, open economies, highly exposed economies, and high debt regimes within the Caribbean SIDS. And these have certainly rendered our islands tremendously vulnerable to a number of hazards, including those that are susceptible to climate. Historically, we've seen decades of impacts which have led to tremendous losses in terms of the economic dollar value within the Caribbean, rendering many of the growth within the Caribbean somewhat, I would say, fragile in nature. And it has challenged our ability as governments within the region to really deliver on the aspirations of sustainable development or to maintain our development path. This experience certainly led us within the Caribbean towards looking at first a project to address some of the challenges we saw in the 80s, and out of that a number of key deliverables came forward. The need to look at our infrastructure, our housing, our health infrastructure, schools, the need to look at our capacity to prepare for and respond to these types of events. But we decided, based on our lessons, that we needed to move from a project environment to try to sustain these outcomes of the project into more of an institutionalized approach. And so in 1991, the organization I lead, which is the Caribbean Disaster Emergency Management Agency, was established to provide support to member governments in CARICOM to advance this agenda for addressing these impacts to natural hazards. And out of that, we recognized that an ad hoc approach was not going to be the order of the day. And so we designed the first, what we call regional roadmap. Now we're referring to it as a strategy. We designed the first regional roadmap in 2001 to really address this issue of disaster risk reduction. We called it the Comprehensive Disaster Management Strategy at the time. And that strategy was oriented towards addressing government's efforts to have a sustained development agenda. It at that time, as early as 2001, took consideration of the issues related to global climate change into consideration. And we set about trying to advance the strategy among our member states. We learned very early that as in 2005, Hyogo came on the landscape, we were beginning to compete with essentially a global pressure to advance these global standards. And so in order for us to maintain the delivery of services to our member states, we had to first, as regional organization, align our regional strategy to the global strategy. And we worked with the UNISDR at the time, now UNDRR, to evaluate, to assess our strategy, and we found that it was 85% coherent with what was being promoted in Hyogo. And later on, we did the same thing, and similarly with Sendai. But we also recognized that to really have a critical uptake in the framing of national strategies, we had to leverage the existing national development plans and strategies as a basis for driving our strategies. And we've in that regard, we've been really successful pre-2015 in having 9 of our 18 member states develop their national disaster risk reduction strategies. Those 9 have expired, and now we're working with them by using diagnostic tools to essentially define from their eyes their priorities for action. One of the things we recognized, we had to center this within national level priorities and local level priorities where it meant something to the government. We call it localization. Those are the terms that are being used, but really promoting local ownership. And so we leverage that process, and we've worked with them now with the application of the diagnostic tools to frame across all of government priorities for action and to turn those into what we call country work programs. And our country work programs are synonymous with the national strategies. It's a whole of government approach. It is very much focusing on key priority sectors of national development within the Caribbean, recognizing that tourism is a major driver of our economy. Agriculture, we're still seeing very small livelihoods as well as larger agrarian-based economies. Health, education, physical planning and development, and certainly civil society are some of those sectors we've been working with through what we call a coordination and harmonization council, so that we bring the necessary oversight, ownership, and governance to the implementation process of the strategy. We continue to provide to our states technical support in the delivery of the strategy and the development of their strategy, and we're hoping by the end of this year we will see some 12 of the 18 Caribbean countries acceding to Target E. And we're going to continue to support them in that process. However, as we implement, we recognize that there are a number of challenges we're facing. One is balancing implementation against the resourcing capacity of countries. Many of them have variable capacities, and they're being bombarded by many actors from external communities, essentially offering the same kind of services. And it's a difficult challenge for them to manage that and to really contextualize that within those programs they have. So the issue of scale, scope must be something we consider, and the capacities, the absorptive capacities of state. This is something that we recognize. We also recognize that our efforts have to be properly planned and executed over a much longer time horizon that we've become accustomed to, recognizing that this is really development we're talking about. And development doesn't happen in 10 to 15-year timelines, especially in cases where we've gone too far to one side in terms of maldevelopment, and going back the other way requires a little bit more investment. Other challenges we've seen, even amidst the success, is the political unevenness of support for the delivery, the competition between climate resources versus disaster risk management resources, and the need for us to look at what I call a harmonization or a re-articulation of the national architecture for delivering on development resilience, so that we can see greater efficiency and effectiveness. The final point I want to bring to the table is that in order for us to get countries to accelerate the processes towards Target E, we've recognized one very critical element, which we treat it as an incentive or perhaps a disincentive. We've now linked the development of national strategies to the access of our grant facilities. So we're saying to member states, here are resources we are mobilizing on your behalf, but to really get them and to make meaningful use of them, have a strategic pathway that will not only allow you to access those funds, but will allow you to be able to see exactly where you're going, how your resources are contributing to where you're going, and what adjustments you would need to make over time. And we've really seen an accelerated process by taking this particular approach. So I'll stop there and really open myself up to any further questions and discussions around our stories. Thank you.
Thank you, Jackson. There was a rich sort of narrative there of many components. I kind of picked up on a couple of things, which was essentially the issue of integrating it as part of a development plan rather than as a standalone, and the national architecture. And also in terms of your comments about the unevenness of political support, if political support could be essentially convinced, it could be through essentially linking, like the Japanese have done, that this is essentially an economic fundamental planning and development issue. So there was a lot there. I have a lot of questions that I could ask you, but bear with us and we'll move on. So I think the Italian thing is sorted out? Yes, okay. So can I ask Anna to share, really from the ground, someone who's been there, seen something, had to manage it personally. Anna, the floor is yours.
Buonasera a tutti, è un grande piacere e un grande onore per me essere qui in questa sala e poter partecipare attivamente a questo convegno. Spero per voi che funzioni la traduzione. Mi dicono di sì. Bene, mi chiamo Anna Giacometti, sono sindaco del comune di Bregaglia dal 2010 e in questo ruolo sono responsabile non solo per la sicurezza dei cittadini ma per il funzionamento e l'organizzazione di tutto il comune. La Bregaglia è un piccolo comune di montagna nel cantone dei Grigioni a sud delle Alpi. Le nostre montagne raggiungono un'altitudine di quasi 3.500 metri sul livello del mare. La superficie è di ben 251 km quadrati, una superficie grande per un comune svizzero. La popolazione però conta solo 1.500 abitanti. Grazie alla grande presenza di acqua e alla produzione di energia elettrica, il comune sta abbastanza bene dal punto di vista finanziario. Questo nella situazione normale. Quando invece ci sono degli eventi importanti, come ad esempio una catastrofe, abbiamo bisogno di aiuti esterni che poi ci arrivano dal cantone, dalla confederazione o anche da istituzioni private. Purtroppo dal 2011 il comune di Bregaglia è colpito da importanti problemi geologici come frane e colate detritiche. In particolare il paese e le frazioni di Bondo sono stati duramente toccati da questi eventi. Dal Pizzo Cengolo, dai suoi 3.369 metri di altitudine, sono cadute due grandi frane. Il comune e la popolazione è stata colta di sorpresa, non eravamo assolutamente preparati ad affrontare una catastrofe naturale di questo genere. Dopo la prima colata detritica nell'agosto del 2012, il comune ha costruito un grande bacino di ritenzione per proteggere il paese. Abbiamo installato un impianto di preallarme e un sistema di allerta per evacuare il villaggio con prontezza ed efficacia in caso di nuovi eventi. Il 23 agosto 2017 era una bellissima giornata estiva, è scesa una frana di grandi dimensioni, si parla di oltre 3 milioni di metri cubi di roccia. Le colate detritiche hanno raggiunto i villaggi nel fondovalle. La frana ha travolto e ucciso 8 persone. Abbiamo dovuto in pochi minuti evacuare un intero villaggio. L'approvvigionamento idrico, la corrente elettrica, lo smaltimento delle acque luride, il collegamento telefonico, tutto era fuori uso ed è rimasto fuori uso per molte settimane. Anche l'unica strada di collegamento è rimasta interrotta per diversi giorni. Senza le misure precauzionali che avevamo preso 2 anni prima, il danno sarebbe stato ancora molto più grande. Ma cosa abbiamo imparato da questi eventi? Innanzitutto abbiamo subito migliorato l'organizzazione a livello locale per essere in grado di affrontare crisi e catastrofi naturali. Abbiamo steso dei mansionari per i membri dello Stato Maggiore di condotta comunale, abbiamo acquistato apparecchiature e abbiamo installato le tecniche più moderne nel locale di condotta. Un altro punto importante, abbiamo migliorato l'informazione e la comunicazione sia all'interno del comune, dunque con la popolazione, ma anche verso l'esterno con i giornalisti che dopo l'evento naturalmente sono arrivati tutti da noi, giornalisti svizzeri ma anche esteri. Abbiamo poi esteso i compiti del consulente locale specializzato in pericoli naturali. Abbiamo costruito argini di protezione ancora più alti, migliorato il sistema di allarme e optato per un monitoraggio costante di questa montagna. Abbiamo anche capito che la componente psicologica è molto importante in caso di catastrofe per assistere la popolazione colpita. Abbiamo invece ancora bisogno di nuovi strumenti per riconoscere ed affrontare i pericoli naturali. Dal 2003 la Svizzera ha elaborato una strategia nazionale per la gestione dei rischi naturali, la quale è stata rielaborata e aggiornata nel 2018, che è questo documento. Il Cantone dei Grigioni dispone pure di strategie e di concetti a livello cantonale. A livello comunale invece non siamo ancora pronti. Finora il Comune non aveva strumenti adatti per una gestione integrale dei rischi legata ai pericoli naturali. La Confederazione ed il Cantone hanno le loro strategie e i loro concetti, ma un'applicazione di queste strategie a livello locale è molto difficile. Infatti queste strategie, le linee guida e le direttive nazionali non possono sempre essere applicate a livello comunale. Sono quindi necessari strumenti di implementazione e di attuazione a livello locale. Questi includono ad esempio la delimitazione delle zone di pericolo, il piano delle zone, una legge edilizia, le strategie di sviluppo regionali e comunali, la pianificazione della formazione, della sanità, dell'approvvigionamento idrico e i piani di emergenza. Anche la legislazione è molto importante e il quadro giuridico comunale deve essere coordinato con quello superiore. Ad oggi nel nostro Comune non siamo ancora riusciti ad integrare sistematicamente i pericoli naturali in tutti questi strumenti, ma evidentemente ci stiamo lavorando. Direi che per adesso non ancora un punto, forse, quello della formazione, importante la formazione e l'aggiornamento in materia di pericoli naturali, quindi la collaborazione con gli enti e con le autorità superiori è molto molto importante. E d'altra parte però abbiamo anche notato che le esperienze fatte a livello locale devono confluire e influenzare l'elaborazione delle strategie e dei concetti generali a livello nazionale. Grazie.
Anna, thank you so much. There's a couple of things that I think you said which were very, very interesting, at least for me. One was the ability of the community to essentially respond to essentially what was almost catastrophic in nature, in the scale. And that, I think, is something that I hope people will think about. There is no substitute for the abilities of communities to essentially be able to come together and work together. But the other thing I think you said was that, on the other hand, at the national level, there are strategies, but they don't all apply. And even in a first world country like Switzerland, where you might suggest that in developing countries, large countries, the connection between the center and the rural areas is so far. But even in a small, highly sophisticated country like Switzerland, you see the disconnect, and therefore the tools have to be appropriate at a local level. So those were two things that I thought were very important that you mentioned, and I hope we can have a bit more discussion about that. Let me now move from Switzerland to the other part of the world and to Mauritania, and invite Ms. Fatima To to share her thoughts with us. Thank you.
Merci, monsieur. Vous savez, il y a un adage chez moi qui dit que le dernier est toujours le plus aimé. J'espère que c'est le cas. Alors, moi, je vais regarder mon intervention va être accentuée sous l'angle de la vision des élus locaux. Donc, vous allez me pardonner si je vais être vraiment élu local cette fois-ci. Alors, les référentiels en termes d'adoption, leur séquence en termes d'adoption, c'est d'abord le cadre de Sendai, les ODD, l'accord de Paris et puis le nouvel agenda urbain. Alors, je suis parmi ceux qui pensent que ces référentiels-là, tous ces agendas mondiaux parlent la même langue, parlent le même langage et disent parfois la même chose. Et ils sont tous axés sur les personnes. Ils retiennent tous une approche axée sur les personnes. C'est dès lors où ils retiennent tous une approche axée sur les personnes que le rôle des élus locaux se met en évidence. Alors, vous convenez avec moi aussi que l'accélération de l'urbanisation augmente les risques. Alors, le rôle des gouvernements locaux et régionaux se met alors en évidence, car vous le savez aussi bien que moi, que le lien direct qui nous lie avec les populations et par conséquent nous donne une parfaite connaissance des défis liés au territoire, des besoins de ces populations et de l'existant même au niveau de ces territoires. Nous sommes en conséquence interpellés pour maintenir une cohésion sociale, économique, territoriale. À cet égard, nous sommes en constante réflexion en cherchant à innover pour trouver des solutions durables et inclusives bénéficiant au bien-être de l'ensemble de la population. Nous devons être les sentinelles des rêves des communautés, si je peux m'exprimer comme ça. Nous sommes également en première ligne quand il s'agit d'anticiper, de gérer ou de réduire les risques de catastrophes ou de crises, car nous sommes le premier niveau de réponse avec souvent de larges responsabilités et très peu de moyens pour faire face à cela. La résilience des populations à travers une croissance inclusive et durable reste tributaire d'un développement économique local qui lui-même repose sur un environnement financier approprié, garantissant ainsi une meilleure autonomisation, une meilleure autonomie des autorités locales et régionales et assurément une meilleure localisation des stratégies. Il n'est plus à démontrer que la marginalisation des autorités locales et régionales fragilise les territoires et leur gouvernance. Par exemple, sans notre implication en termes d'intervention humanitaire, on n'est pas certain que les interventions répondent nécessairement aux besoins des populations. Donc, la présence effective des élus locaux et régionaux dans le mécanisme de médiation et de prévention des crises ou conflits réduit sans doute les risques, compte tenu de la relation intime qui nous lie avec les populations que j'avais évoquées tout à l'heure. Le renforcement des capacités des différents acteurs et particulièrement des pouvoirs locaux et régionaux assure forcément la mise en œuvre des stratégies de gestion des risques et des crises en termes de planification urbaine, de prévention, d'évaluation des risques, des plans de préparation aux crises, création d'outils d'intervention d'urgence. Il faut aussi mobiliser, inclure et mettre en synergie les différents acteurs dans nos villes pour mieux appréhender la problématique de la résilience. Je reviens un peu sur la spécificité de la Mauritanie. Tout à l'heure, vous n'avez pas bien prononcé le nom de Nouakchott. Nouakchott, c'est la capitale de la Mauritanie. La Mauritanie est le pays d'où je viens, qui est d'1 million de kilomètres carrés, aux 3/4 désertique, et qui c'est le pays où le Sahel où côtoie le Sahara. Donc, qui a connu des années de sécheresse répétées qui ont bouleversé structurellement le mode de vie des populations. Ce qui a occasionné ce qu'on appelle l'exode rural vers les villes, les centres urbains, dont Nouakchott, justement, capitale de la Mauritanie, qui abrite désormais un tiers de la population de la Mauritanie, et qui connaît beaucoup de vulnérabilités aussi au niveau de cette ville, car c'est une ville aussi, comme le tableau tout à l'heure de toute la Mauritanie, le tableau de Nouakchott aussi, c'est que c'est une ville où le désert vient rencontrer la mer. C'est bien beau, mais il y a beaucoup de vulnérabilités au niveau de cette ville. Et alors, pour ce qui est des stratégies, il faut faire la part des choses aussi, parce que le cadre de Sendai avait prévu une plateforme nationale, mais avait prévu aussi une plateforme pour les élus locaux, pour les gouvernements locaux et régionaux. Tout en accent sur les 10 essentiels qui sont considérés comme la Bible des élus locaux. Une prise de conscience de la nécessité d'harmoniser les différents programmes en tenant compte de la dimension RRC, surtout en termes de prévention, de la mobilisation des moyens nécessaires. Sensibiliser les différents segments des populations, particulièrement les femmes et les jeunes, renforcer les capacités des différents acteurs afin de les familiariser avec les outils d'évaluation de la RC, élaborer des plans suivant une approche participative, des plans d'action qui identifient plusieurs actions d'ordre institutionnel, organisationnel et d'investissement. Ils définissent ainsi les responsabilités de chaque acteur avec un chronogramme détaillé pour sa mise en œuvre. Je m'arrête là tout en restant à votre écoute pour vos réponses. Merci.
Thank you so much. I will not try and pronounce the capital again, but I'm very sorry. But I can assure you that I know the music of your country very well. I have lots of music from that. In the next 12 months, I'll come and visit and leave pronouncing it very well. I used to live in Africa for a few years, but I thought your very evocative message, I hope, came out loud and clear to everyone. I could almost feel being in the Niger, the Sahel, the Sahara area. But it was very loud and clear that local elected representatives is essentially the lifeblood of getting things done. And in a way, I suppose you were saying, it translates into having good leaders, people like you, people who are elected, accountable, and deliver because they have leadership. And another very important message I think you conveyed to us was the rush to urbanize comes with many risks, particularly in many countries, particularly the developing countries, and the marginalization of local representatives essentially works against good governance. I thought those were two very important points. So let me stop there. I know we've slightly extended, but we have another 40 minutes. And now it's your turn to essentially ask questions to the panel. So I'll ask anyone who wants to ask a question, please try not to make a speech, if you don't mind, I beg you. Please ask a question. You can direct it to the person you like to answer or open it up. Please don't take more than maybe a minute and a half to make your question or your point, and then hopefully we can have 4 or 5 good questions, and then I'll come back to the panel. So with that, the floor is open for questions and remarks. Please put your hand up. Please tell us where you're from, and then get to the point. Thank you. First lady from Indonesia. Yes? Is there a microphone? Yes.
Very much for very valuable presentation and panels. I would like to know how your country address the local wisdom or local knowledge to be incorporated in the local strategy of DRR. Thank you very much.
Is that a question to anyone on the panel? Yes? Okay, that's a very good question. How have these countries taken local knowledge and wisdom to try and respond to these things? Thank you. Who would like to go on the panel?
Alors, il y a une accumulation d'expériences qu'on n'apprend pas à l'université et qui est extrêmement importante au niveau local. Nous, en tout cas, pour notre part, nous avons pu élaborer un guide avec ce qu'on appelle les aînés, les sages, parce que c'est des gens qui ont connu quand même l'historique des catastrophes au niveau de la Mauritanie et particulièrement au niveau de Nouakchott. Et nous avons pu justement élaborer ce guide avec eux qui est pris en compte dans les différentes actions au niveau de notre capitale. Merci.
Anybody else on the panel would like to just quickly respond to that? Yes, Jackson.
Yeah, I agree with my colleague who spoke before that sometimes we tend to forget that the local communities have answers. They're not only victims. So one of the things we've really strived to do is in the arms of government that are on an ongoing basis engaging local communities, that they will bring this knowledge and engagement to the framing at the national level, including some of the civil society actors who are very much engaged and entrenched in the communities working day to day with these individuals. So their voices are there. We've also been working with the university, who is also a stakeholder in the process, who themselves have been doing research on local and indigenous knowledge on how to bring this into the strategic process. So just some additional approaches we've taken on our side of the world.
Thank you. I particularly like the reference to wisdom, the wisdom of elders. And, someone who lives in a tropical, wet area or lush with water is not going to be able, no matter how much they studied, advise someone in the desert how to cope with essentially drought. To some extent, but not all the time. Okay, second question, please, or input from anyone? I saw some hands. Yes, please. And then this gentleman. Yes. Yeah.
Good afternoon. I'm Dr. Elsie Sharma, representing Arise India, one of the delegations. My questions from Madam Anna and Mr. Ronald is they talked about the engagement of the communities and capacity building and non-availability of the tools and techniques for the communities. My question here is, what are the local level strategies being adopted to engage the communities?
I think that question is for you. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Did you get the question? Can you succinctly repeat the question? Yeah.
What are the strategies being adopted to engage the communities?
Yeah, the strategies adopted to engage communities.
Do you take many questions? Or?
No, one at a time, please. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for the question. There are many ways to do this, but the one way we did is that to support the multi-sector task force is created, comprising of the local authorities, NGOs, civil society, and resources persons. And then this to develop the local DR strategies. This is to be organized at the municipal level, and then the consultation will take forward in a multifaceted way. Maybe it will be some the regional sector-wise or the thematic-wise, but there will be the standard procedures to get the analysis and identify needs and priorities. But this could be adapted to the local context, and then this values according to the wish of the local the authority. Thank you.
The next person? Yes. Oh, please, yeah.
Merci. Non, c'est lui qui m'a...
Ok, grazie. Io volevo dire che appunto anche vivendo in uno Stato democratico come la Svizzera è normale coinvolgere la popolazione in qualunque cosa, quindi anche nei lavori di pianificazione, di ricostruzione dopo una catastrofe naturale, noi coinvolgiamo comunque la popolazione e hanno anche formato una società privata e ci rivolgono, ci mandano i loro desideri, ci tengono informati affinché alla fine siano tutti soddisfatti della ricostruzione che andremo a fare nei prossimi anni.
En tout cas, toute stratégie qui ne prend pas en compte l'implication des populations est vouée à l'échec nécessairement.
I think that's the most precise answer you can have. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Merci. Je m'appelle Neyoussa Nassirou. Je suis directeur de prévention des risques et catastrophes à la Direction générale de la protection civile au ministère de l'Intérieur, Niamey, Niger. J'ai 3 petites questions. Nous avons 2 élus locaux, 2 maires. Je voudrais qu'ils nous disent des actions concrètes qui ont été prévues dans leur plan de développement. Nous avons entendu la Suisse où un certain nombre d'actions ont été faites, mais Madame ne nous a pas dit si elles s'intégraient dans le cadre d'un plan de développement communal. Ces actions, si on peut nous donner quelques chiffres en termes financiers, pour un peu attester des efforts des communes par rapport à la réduction des risques de catastrophe. La deuxième question va au niveau de notre ami qui a parlé d'une approche un peu plus institutionnalisée. Il a parlé de l'approche projet. Et j'aimerais savoir un peu le contenu des différents programmes qui ont été adoptés à travers l'approche institutionnalisée. Et la troisième question, c'est au niveau du Japon, où on nous a parlé d'initiatives de 10 pays qui ont créé un centre. Et je voudrais savoir un peu à quels résultats ces 10 pays ont abouti à travers cette initiative entre les 10 pays ou les 10 communautés. Voilà, Monsieur le Président, les quelques préoccupations que j'ai à poser.
Thank you so much. Can I ask the 2 mayors to quickly respond to the specific measures, examples, and then can I ask Mr. Jackson to respond as well, and then Mr. Nakamura-san to the third question. Is that fair? Please.
Allora, da noi il ruolo del comune e del sindaco è stato fondamentale, già a partire dall'evacuazione. Dunque io stessa sono corsa nel villaggio a evacuare la popolazione, in seguito anche tutti i rapporti con i media li ho gestiti io, con i giornalisti, tutte le interviste, e anche la popolazione stessa, la mia porta era sempre aperta, quindi se avevano bisogno di un aiuto potevano venire, e la stessa cosa con i miei collaboratori sempre presenti per aiutare la popolazione.
Merci. Alors, quelques actions concrètes. Nous avons pu numériser toutes les infrastructures socio-économiques de notre ville. Donc, toutes les écoles, tous les points de santé ont été numérisés, c'est des cartes numérisées, et mis justement à la disposition des populations en cas de besoin. J'avais parlé tout à l'heure d'une interpellation des élus locaux, une constante interpellation pour maintenir une cohésion sociale et créer un climat économique favorable pour que justement ces populations s'épanouissent. Pour ce faire, nous avons mis à contribution les nouvelles technologies et nous avons développé une application informatique qui nous a permis, en termes de collecte, qui nous a permis de doubler la recette. Mieux que ça, ça nous a permis d'instaurer une justice parce que certains contribuables payaient moins que d'autres, d'autres ne payaient même pas, payaient plus que la normale, etc., etc. Nous avons pu mettre, si vous voulez, en adéquation tous ces systèmes qui nous a permis d'instaurer cette justice, mais aussi d'améliorer la recette dans une optique justement d'améliorer les services offerts aux citoyens. Ce qui nous a permis de réduire certaines inégalités, notamment au niveau des écoles, parce qu'on a pu entretenir certaines cantines, on a pu quand même, on a pu aussi mobiliser, organiser des modules pour en termes de séances de rattrapage pour les enfants ici de familles démunies, etc. Donc ce sont 2 exemples, avec un autre exemple qui est extrêmement important parce qu'il s'intéresse aux jeunes Parce que tout à l'heure, j'avais parlé d'une attention particulière qu'on doit faire aux femmes et aux jeunes, mais aux jeunes particulièrement en Afrique, parce que la population des jeunes en Afrique avoisine les 300 millions, donc c'est presque la population des États-Unis. Et ces jeunes dans nos pays, s'ils ne sont pas encadrés, s'il n'y a pas des mesures qui peuvent les contenir, ils sont voués, si vous voulez, à verser dans le terrorisme, à verser dans les dérives sectaires, à verser dans la délinquance. Donc, c'est des programmes justement qui s'intéressent à ces jeunes-là, en termes d'emploi, en termes de divertissement, etc. Merci.
Thank you very much. I think the last question, could you repeat it for Japan, please? Your third question.
La troisième question, la question au Japon, 10 pays asiatiques ont créé un centre en matière de soins de risque de catastrophe. J'ai dit, est-ce qu'on peut avoir quelques résultats auxquels cette union a abouti?
Well, I think that that network is started, but I think that so far it is working well. And for example, we have some, this works as a hub for exchange views, and also we can exchange some, so for example, the research program, and sometimes some researchers comes in and comes out. So I think that it is surely functioning very well. So, but of course, we have many things to do so further. But I think at this moment that center is playing a very key role to as a hub of information, particularly in Asian countries.
Thank you. Would you like to chip in, Jackson? Yeah.
Yeah, I believe a question was posed. Just to say that we moved from a project environment to a program-based environment, and there were, over time, quite a number of programs and results. I think that's what you wanted to find out. These includes our Caribbean Safe Schools program. So we're running a model safe schools program at the moment in most of our 18 states, and that's going to be ongoing, knowing that there are many schools across the region, looking at scaling it up as well to address the issue of renewable energy and water harvesting. And that's quite a successful program and has political support. Or multi-hazard early warning systems program, looking at all 4 pillars of early warning. Strengthening operational readiness for response. And now we're going to be working with member states on building an institutional capacity for early recovery and reconstruction. We're working on the advancement of what we call our blueprint tools, and these include model strategies, model policies, model legislation. We have model community-based disaster risk management programs, and these are models because we are at regional level, and we're providing support to national level governments to be able to advance some of these imperatives that are outlined. We have a technical assistance support mechanism where we move human resources around the Caribbean. Part of our mandate is really to deepen cooperation and collaboration among states in CARICOM. So if one country has capacities and competencies that another country doesn't have, we facilitate the movement of those competencies and capacities to help a member state. There are knowledge management products and awareness products, model products that countries can adapt and use, and so forth and so on. There's quite a bit. I won't have time to go through them, but these are concrete interventions we've implemented. Some are ongoing because they're programmatic and require multiple years of investment to get it completed.
Thank you. And just I can also say that the Indonesian minister also mentioned about the regional cooperation in Asean. So I think the Indonesian delegation is there. That's 10 plus 1 countries. You can also talk to them because that's an area that's very prone to a host of different disasters as well. There's a gentleman up there who's caught my attention. If you come down a bit, we can all see you. But anyway, please go. Ask your question. Keep it short. Then we have to stop the Q&A. Yes.
Thank you, sir. Could I ask the panel if they could share an initiative in their programs that target, benefit students, people with disabilities? I'm talking about disability inclusion, if their programs that they have in their countries address disability inclusion, if they can share that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Would anyone like to try and quickly respond to that? Yes.
Thank you very much for the question. The effect of the disasters to the people of the disabilities is the area that we need to quantify and then assess separately. And we are more and more into that with the human impact assessment as a part of the disaster, post-disaster needs assessment. And then with that assessment and data in hand, normally the international partners would work hand in hand with the national authorities to develop the disability specific strategy or plans to do that. In UNDP, for instance, developed the strategy on this, and then we are willing to work with any member states who would like to develop further on this. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to take one last question because we've heard from Africa, etc. And gentlemen, yes. Thank you.
Thank you. اسمي الهادي سهيلي من تونس. شكرا. أشكر المتداخلين على المداخلات الجيدة والقيمة التي تم تقديمها، وأقدم نفسي الهادي السهيلي نقطة اتصال الوطنية إطار سنداي بتونس. سؤالي للأخ من اليابان، عندما قدم الاستراتيجية الظاهر أن الاستراتيجية موجودة ومخططات العمل موجودة، وقد تم اتخاذ قرار تحيين الاستراتيجية على ما فهمت نظرا للكارثة الأخيرة التي تمت باليابان والتي توفي بها 3 أيام. أريد أن أسأل على الجانب المؤسساتي، يعني من أخذ القرار بتحيين الاستراتيجية؟ من يتابع الاستراتيجية ويتابع تنفيذها؟ هذه النقطة الأولى. النقطة الثانية، من يضمن أن المشاريع التنموية خلال تنفيذها يتم الأخذ بمخاطر الحد من مخاطر الكوارث؟ وشكرا.
I think Nakamura-san, that's for you.
Very huge question, but actually, when we make up our strategies, we need to involve many players, not only government officers, but also local government officers, and as well as private sectors and researchers. And also, one particular aspect in the case of Japan is that we are trying to involve the community people as well, because we need a very comprehensive plan. So we need to take account of many needs from various people. So I think that that kind of comprehensibility is a very important point. So we are not trying to involve as many people as possible when we make and also to revise the DR strategies. So I think that it is a very important point.
Thank you. I'm going to, to the UN, to the organizers, can we extend it for a few minutes? Okay. I've got 2 people who keep looking at, there's so many hands up, so we'll have to have another conference tomorrow. But that gentleman and this lady, and then I've got to call it, and then I'll ask for the final statements. I'm sorry for those who I can't call upon, but yes. And then this lady here.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Kiyoshi Murakami. I'm also from the city of Rikuzen, Takata, which is completely wiped out by tsunami in 2011 from Japan. So regarding to the colleagues from the excellency from Tunisia, also that Mr. Nakamura mentioned, that there are a number of the strong community-based preventions actually taking place, particularly after 2011. Of course, even before that, the whole Japan actually conducted a number of the exercise on the prevention of the disasters. But after that, particularly that even the people with disabled or people with special needs, in the case of Rikuzen and Takata, we actually really focus on that, the concept of the inclusion, rather intended inclusion society we really want to create. So that is the basis of the renewing whole city. That's the whole city actually really based on that inclusive society. That is actually really taking into place of the Sendai Framework to our cities buildings. Thank you.
Much. Would you like to respond in any way, Mr. Nakamura-san? I mean, I think you were giving us a bit of advice, but I don't know if you.
Thank you, and I understand well, and I recognize that that kind of very community-level communication is very, very important. And after the earthquake in the Tohoku, this issue has become very much more important. So I completely agree with you. So I'd like to try to improve the systems to version up various policy, various DDR strategies. Thank you.
Thank you. And finally, the lady from Niger.
Donc, merci de m'avoir donné la parole. En fait, ce n'est pas pour poser une question, c'est juste pour vous signaler qu'il y a la présence du ministre de l'Action humanitaire et de la gestion des catastrophes du Niger qui est venu pour nous encourager. Merci.
Okay, I think we're running out of time. Some people are getting impatient. They're leaving. So what I'm going to do is ask the panel here just in 30 seconds just to highlight what they think is most relevant from what they've heard to essentially meeting target E, and it makes this relevant. So can I start with yourself, please?
Thank you, Chandran. I would like to point out that the more and more the risks become complex and multifaceted. It requires the more integrated analysis, assessment, also to integrate to the other strategy and so forth. So United Nations and our partners had developed the various tools to support member states who struggle to integrate all these the factors in, and then also to capacitate your own people to be able to do that. One initiative that I would like to highlight is the Capacity for Disaster Reduction Initiative. This is called CADRI, and then this is to foster a multi-sectoral engagement in assessing the capacities and gap, and then also help support the member states with the planning processes that follows. And this is the interagency partnership of 19 UN and non-UN entities. So this can cover the programming across the multiple sectors. So this is not also the disaster risk reduction only, but it would take into account of the climate change and conflict sensitivity. So we would look forward to working with the member states for the planning process. That if you require any assistance, please do come up to ask for this. Thank you.
Thank you. Anna?
Dunque io volevo dire che sono molto importanti queste strategie, ma che abbiamo bisogno anche di strumenti che siano facilmente applicabili a livello locale. E poi volevo anche dire che una piccola comunità ha bisogno di aiuti esterni, soprattutto in caso di catastrofe naturale, non siamo in grado di affrontare da solo questi eventi. E un'altra cosa, appunto, questo integrare i disabili, cioè aiutarli, mi sembra basilare, aiutare i più deboli e appunto questa componente psicologica di sostegno alle popolazioni colpite.
Okay, very shortly, the point is the community. I think that when we think about DRR strategies, we think about national level and local government level, but plus I think that the community level is very important. I think that this kind of argument is very common to the discussion today, so I'd like to stress that the importance of community level and community people.
Yeah, 3 quick points. What I take away, incentivizing the process towards target E, strategies must have people at the center of it for it to be effective. And I want to add that regional organizations or sub-regional organizations are culturally adapt to their member states and should be seen as a critical delivery partner in the process towards delivering on the Sendai intent.
Merci. Notre organisation fêtière, Cité Gouvernement Locaux Unis, travaille, accompagne ces différentes sections pour justement mettre en adéquation et en synergie ces différents agendas mondiaux qui retiennent une approche encore une fois axée sur les personnes. Donc pour cela, on a créé le Conseil mondial politique, CGLI, donc c'est une structure importante qui travaille justement sur ces aspects de réduction des catastrophes et de résilience d'une manière globale. Donc nous avons besoin d'être accompagnés, mais nous avons besoin surtout d'un mandat, je veux dire par mandat, une décentralisation effective dans nos différents pays. Et nous avons besoin de moyens pour mettre, parce que tous ces agendas qui sont axés sur les personnes nécessitent aussi, leur mise en œuvre nécessite aussi des moyens. Merci.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's just for me to kind of wrap up. I feel that I could wish I had another 2 more hours to engage with everybody, and especially the deep wisdom that exists between yourselves and the audience here. But for me, I don't come from the specialization of this particular subject matter, and sometimes that's a good thing. I learned a great deal. The things that I learned, which I thought was very important here, is that you need local leadership of the highest levels. And we saw 2 people here who are mayors. And in some of the other work I've done, but not in this area, where we can talk about all the strategies in the world, but when you don't have leadership, then you essentially have failure. That leadership needs to be built around local wisdom and know-how. And that quite often can be ignored with the onslaught of experts from everywhere in the world. And I think Mr. Jackson referred to that as well. The other thing that I found very interesting was to integrate DRR into essentially development per se. And not as an optional thing that happens. Hopefully we won't get affected, but if it gets affected, maybe. But it's actually built into development. And I think the Japanese example of essentially making it fundamentally part of economic and fiscal policy, whether you're a rich or small country, I think that is so fundamentally correct, given that as the special representative said, is quoted in the materials for this conference, that if not risk influenced, it is not sustainable. If it's not sustainable, it has human costs. And if we don't take up human costs, we essentially pay a very high price. And I'm paraphrasing what she said. But those are the most important things. And finally, I would say, coming from a more private sector approach, that ultimately in policy, strategy is execution, and execution essentially depends on competence and leadership. And I think we saw a very competent panel here who's tried to share everything with as much as you can, and I encourage you all to exchange more, and I thank you for your patience, and I hope this has been a fruitful use of your time. Thank you very much. Please join me in thanking the panel members especially. Thank you.